Hello everyone and welcome to another Timeless video. So today we're going to be taking a look at Ygra combo deck in Timeless format. So I've been asked to try out Ygra, Eater a Ball. So this is a new card from Bloomburrow. It is a 5-mana card, which is a little bit expensive. So we're going to be trying to cheap this card out with things like Dark Rituals or Reanimate. This deck does have a very early kill potential with a Dark Ritual. If you go Dark Ritual into a Buried Alive, and if you have a Reanimate, that is a 3-card combo that can kill your opponent. Only if you actually set up a creature on turn 1. So what I mean by that is Ygra, Eater Ball, says that every other card on the battlefield are essentially food artifacts. So if you buried alive, let's say an Ygra, 2 copies of Cauldron Familiar into the graveyard on turn 2, for example, from a Dark Ritual, and then you have exactly 1 more mana to reanimate the Ygra onto the battlefield, that means you would need another food token on the battlefield or a creature so that you can bring the Cauldron Familiar that you put it into the graveyard onto the battlefield. But because the Buried Alive put 2 copies of Cauldron Familiar into the graveyard, that means when you put the Cauldron Familiar onto the battlefield, the Cauldron Familiar itself is going to transform into a food artifact because of Ygra, which allows you to sacrifice the Cauldron Familiar that you put it on the battlefield and then bring the other Cauldron Familiar onto the battlefield. So now this is an infinite loop to drain your opponent for all of their life. What's really cool about this card is that it also has a word cost, making you sacrifice a food. So similar to Vein Ripper, unless you control a creature, you can't actually get rid of this card. Solitude does cleanly answer this card, so just be wary of that. But the only targeted removal spell that actually gets rid of this card is Swords to Plowshare, because even Galvanic Discharge has a really hard time killing this, because as soon as you sacrifice a food, meaning your creature, for the word cost, this thing grows every time a food gets put into the graveyard. So as soon as you fire off Galvanic Discharge, thinking you might be able to kill this with 6 energy, but as soon as you do that, this thing grows into an 8/8. So it's really hard to kill this thing, and at the same time, you're probably not going to be putting the Ygra onto the battlefield unless you're going to kill your opponent that turn. So things like a sorcery removal spell such as Static Prison isn't going to work either. And lastly, another thing that's really cool about this combo is it's actually not weak to a Graveyard Hate. So Graveyard Hate does slow this combo down, but once you actually assemble the combo, having Ygra on the battlefield, it is actually not possible to stop it, as long as you control 2 copies of food. So that can generate from a singular Gilded Goose. Once you bury it alive, you put the 3 Cauldron Familiars into the graveyard. An opponent tries to eat it using Hearse or Surgical Extract. You can, in response, bring the Cauldron Familiar back onto the battlefield, and if they have another Graveyard Hate, you can in response sacrifice the other food token, and the combo is in motion. So having said that, I'm going to be hopping over to some Timeless Best of 3 to show you guys how the deck does. So let's hop on over. Alright, let's check this out. It's a really bad hand. We have a Reanimate, but we have no griefs or anything. This one looks a lot better. Mountain. Well, that is a problem. That is a problem. Let's just cycle. That would have been really nice. I would have actually won if I just got that. Wow. Interesting. Juggernaut Peddler. I mean, you gotta get rid of Dark Ritual here. Let's see what they're working with. I guess Guide Up Souls and Source to Plowshare and Bowmaster are all big threats. I don't know. What am I supposed to do here? I feel like we just got rid of a bunch of cars, but... if I just thought seized this Juggernaut Peddler... pretty good potential of just winning the game. Like that. Like if we reanimate it, right? But... man, Ragavan stole the game. So calling rituals, fatal pushes, take out the griefs, take out thought seizes, and let's have, I guess, grief is still okay. Swords to Plowshare main deck is actually pretty problematic. It is actually very problematic. Wow, how did they know that we were actually going to draw grief there? How did they know? We do kind of win next turn. If they don't have, like, hand disruption. Yeah, if they don't have a hand disruption, we win the game. They could also kill the Gilded Goose as well. So Orcish Bowmaster. Let's see. Okay, that sticks. So what's really cool about Grief is if they didn't have a Vexing Bauble, I could Grief into sacrificing the Grief to Cauldron Familiar. Which is really cool. Okay, maybe I'm not supposed to actually take out Grief because Grief is just such a good card. Like, especially if they didn't have a Vexing Bauble and then we had... I feel like I'm not supposed to take out Grief, but at the same time, like, it's worse than probably having Calling Rituals or some copies of Fatal Push, I feel like. Well, one lander... not very happy about that. Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this hand. Let's mulligan. Mulligan. There's that Ragavan. A Johnny. Yep.
Right beside me, brother.
I could try to get Calling a Ritual. But it's probably a reanimate at this point, right? So we can win on turn 4. Oh, I do need another creature, actually. Ah, they have a Juggernaut Peddler. This is why, like, I feel like we drew a little bit too many lands this game. Hey, we got a Calling Ritual at least. Maybe we have a chance. Perhaps, perhaps. Oscillate Pride. Into Bowmaster. Oh man, this Calling Ritual. Is about to get a fat stack here.
Rest until I find for the pride.
If I can get something playable with this Calling Ritual, insane. Oh my god. How do we draw this many lands? What? 11? Yeah, I'm pretty sad.
I have failed you, brother.
Yeah, I'm actually pretty sad that this happened. Ooh. Okay, but let's be honest here. If I do grab a way to combo next turn, that's not gonna work because they can just play Loris, white, 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 and then get back a Juggernaut. So that's not gonna work. So I would need to grab... Wait, this is actually horrible. Oh, never mind. My opponent surrendered. I feel like they shouldn't have surrendered. Like, the best I could do is play get back a Juggernaut and then make the Loris into a Juggernaut. Okay. I don't know how this one's gonna go, but I'm gonna keep it. This hand looks a little bit suspicious, but I think it can work. Okay. I see the line. I see the line. Another Oscillate Pride. Wow, that's pretty strong. Demonic Tutor. If I can naturally draw a land next turn, that'd be nice, but... Is there really no way to win? 5, 6. Demonic Tutor, Buried Alive, that's 5. Reanimate. I think that is lethal. Wow, I actually almost missed the line. That's crazy. I was pigeonholed into like hard casting Ygra, but the answer was just there all along. That is crazy. Almost missed lethal. Now we just have to do this 20 times. Thank you, opponent. Okay, so calling ritual again. Probably the best. I feel like we actually need to play more copies of this because this card is actually insane. Because let's say you go dark ritual into calling ritual, then you get back all the mana, then you could even hard cast something like a Ygra. Like I feel like calling ritual is actually potentially like a 3 of or even 4 of. Yeah. My opponent insta-kept. This hand has potential. It does have potential. They insta-kept up what? No one drop and they insta-kept? Lion Sash? That's not gonna do anything. So if I calling ritual, what do I want to do? I want to bury it alive, right? Into a reanimate? Oh my god, this is actually crazy. So if I dark ritual into a calling ritual... Well, that's what I want to do, but my opponent's not playing anything, so... Let's see. Okay, they don't want to do anything, so I'll just fatal push. At this point, I want to just draw more lands, right? So I don't want to crack this. Wait, did I have the win there? They didn't have anything, right? I guess I could... I'm trying to make them tap out, I guess. Monkey. Why are they not... Why are they being so careful? What could they possibly have? Oh yeah, I actually do need a creature, right? I do need a creature. There you go. That's the card that I wanted. So can I win? 4, 5. I can't reanimate both Grief and that card. Oh, that's kind of tricky, actually. Can I go Dark Ritual into it then? Dark Ritual, play the Grief. Then I can't bury it alive. Okay, so I'll just play the Grief. So I can see what they have. Swords and a Flage. Swords and a Flage. Sword and a Flage. I want them to... I want that thing out. This might be a little bit tricky, this game. Because I don't have an extra creature. This is becoming a little bit difficult. Not playing it. Okay, there's the Raptor. Got another Lion Sash. They're probably happy about that. 1, 2. I get 2 back from using Calling Ritual. Another Dark Ritual. I probably should try to go for it, right? I don't know if I have enough, actually. We'll see. Ygra. Cat, cat. We get back Ygra. They can't swords. And then we get back Cauldron Familiar. They can't kill this thing because it has ward sacrifice of food. And they don't have any creatures. So this is game over. GG's. We have the necessary cards to win the game. 4 lands off the bat, not particularly exciting. See what kind of deck they are playing. Yeah, that's not good. That is not good at all. What should I do? I could reanimate this, but I feel like I need to go for the win, right? Also, like, Dark Ritual. If I draw a Dark Ritual next turn, I win the game. Wow, they bottomed that? How can you bottom this? I'm so lost. Cauldron Familiar? No, thank you. Oh my god. What is this? This is insane. I might actually have to reanimate next turn depending on what I draw. I mean, clearly they don't have the combos, so... Thoughtseize? Okay. Since I got a Thoughtseize, I guess I don't have to reanimate. So even if they get an Omniscience down next turn, it doesn't do anything. Because they don't have any, like, ways to get more cards. Like, I feel like no matter what... Unless they have... Well, I guess not. Because they have exactly enough mana to cast another Show and Tell there. Yeah, that was really bad. That was a really, really bad draw from me. I only drew lands that entire game. I'm gonna cut Orcish Bowmasters. Maybe even like Gilded Goose. Cut a copy of an Assemble. Maybe even 2. Quite unusual. Are we supposed to mill ourselves?
Scream. Surrender your
Or them?
agony to me.
It's not like we have Reanimate.
Behold my epilogue of fear.
Yeah, it's not like we have Reanimate.
I leave
Wow, these are really bad mills.
nightmare.
Yeah, these are really bad mills. Jesus. Does my opponent not have a single fetch land? Like, what is this? Wow, they actually don't. That's crazy. Does doing this right now actually matter? Probably not, right? They can't even dig. Oh my god. What is this? I'm impressed, honestly. I'm impressed.
Your final terror is upon you.
I am impressed with the amount of lands we draw every single game. Pauldron Familiar. There's only one car in the yard. Lucky. I think we lost. I mean, we flooded too much this game. Like, look, we actually didn't do anything after setting up an Ashiok. What's really criminal is opponent drew 0 fetch lands, and without even opponent playing any tutor spells, which the Ashiok does block, they didn't even have to use a tutor spell to just naturally draw into their show and tell. It's a pretty bad hand, but you gotta keep it. You gotta somehow keep it. Let's see what opponent's playing. Interesting. Chalice with show and tell. Well, I actually have to get rid of chalices, right? Yeah, unfortunately. Oh, wow. That's interesting. I could Thoughtseize myself. Yeah, I could Thoughtseize myself. I mean, it's a pretty fast clock. All things considered. So what do I need here? What do I need? What the heck do I need? More thought seizes? Another rumble. Well, they do actually have the win next turn, I guess. Darn, we were so close. We were so close. Okay, Ashocks. Actually, do I want Ashocks? Yes, we do. Also want some Vexing Baubles and pick your poison. Yes, we take out some Goose and Orcish Bowmasters. Right, not a bad hand. Ygra. So we just wait for them to show and tell and then put the Ygra onto the battlefield and we just kind of win the game, right? At least that's what I'm hoping. Malevolent Rumble. So the fact that they chose to put that there. Should I still play the Vexing Bauble? Or we just bait out a show and tell? I think we should just bait out a show and tell. Because if I play the Vexing Bubble, they're not gonna play their show and tell, you know? I don't know, I feel like if I don't do this, I can't win the game. Okay, we got our opponent because they were not prepared for that. It does seem like they play a lot of fetch lands, so Ashok's still gonna be useful, and it does also hit on the graveyard, so let's try that again. I don't know. Seems a bit fishy, isn't it? I don't know. A lot of fetch lands. Have I lost the game? Very fun. Okay, let's see if that works. If I Dark Ritual next turn, if I draw into Dark Ritual next turn, I win the game. I literally win the game here, which is perfect. Dark Ritual and I win. I could just reanimate this. Mastermind's Acquisition. How are you gonna play that? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Boop, boop, boop. Nice. Ritual, Buried Alive, Reanimate. We have the combo. We have the combo. Let's see if we can get there without getting thought seized. Very nice. And we also know opponent's identity. It's a Mardu Reanimate. Man, this deck, when it pops off, it's actually just so broken. It's also very cheap, you know? Very cheap. Okay, so we want to take out some Thought Seizes, and let's also take out 2 Griefs. Calling Ritual, Orcish Bowmaster. Leyline, what? Excuse me, opponent. That does not work versus Cauldron Familiar. Cauldron Familiar does not target. Whoops, whoops, whoops. I think I'm just gonna Bowmaster to preserve some life. I should have flashed in right now, but I forgot that I had to do that during upkeep. It's also... Ooh, okay. No fear. No fear. Oh my god. Getting a little bit scammed here. Just a tiny bit. How are they playing around my calling ritual so well? meant to say that, but 3. 4. I'm getting 4 mana next turn. Because I can't kill the Kiki-Jiki, right? I could Calling Ritual into Assemble. But that doesn't really let me bury it alive next turn either. Because I think I am going to just bury it alive next turn. 4 creatures. I really needed, like, something better than this. Yeah. Not ideal. Not ideal. My opponent loves Ragavan. My opponent always steals Reanimate. I can't believe it. That's insane. That is pretty impressive. That is actually so impressive. Two for 2, Ragavan steals Reanimate. Insane. Well, we're missing Reanimate to win this with this hand, right? Yeah, seems like it. Soul Guy Lantern. Does that even do anything? I guess it kind of does. Unless I have like two food tokens. If I have 2 food tokens, it doesn't stop anything, right? The Soul Guy Lantern. Wow. It's a bit risky though. Getting this Ygra down now. If I get it down this turn, 5, 6, maybe it's worth it. Yeah, maybe this is actually really worth it. And I go Gilded Goose into Fatal Push next turn. It's gonna be pretty hard to get rid of this.
Nothing is more important than family.
Okay, I attack. Play the Gilded Goose. Amp the Raptor. Don't like to see that. Until Galvanic Discharge. Ooh, that's actually really bad because they can kill the Gilded Goose. Oh, that's really good. Wow, that was actually really good. Holy. Wow, they actually dodged the bullet there. Otherwise, they would have died there. Also let Pride. I can't believe that. Oh, that's good. That is pretty good. If I had one more land, that would have been fantastic. I don't know, maybe playing the Ygra was a mistake. Yeah, maybe playing the Ygra was a mistake. Maybe playing the Cauldron Familiar was a mistake. Wow. It's actually becoming a lot difficult than it should be. Oh, thank God. Gilded Goose was an amazing draw. Yeah, the Gilded Goose was an amazing draw. Wait, now you don't want to kill the Gilded Goose? What is this? That makes no sense. Now you don't want to kill the Gilded Goose. Like, what? Yup. The stacks. Yeah, they had a Galvanic Discharge. I gotta be careful because this thing is on stack, so if I misclick, I lose the game. Or like double click accidentally. So I'm gonna be as slow as possible. I wonder if you can even double click. Yeah, it's actually crazy that like a normal graveyard hate actually it doesn't even work that much. Like it's a nuisance, but you can get around it like this. GG's opponent. Thank you for letting me finish the combo. One lander. Well, hope we draw land. Hope we draw land. I think I'm supposed to grieve here. In case of a mana drain next turn. Interesting. Very interesting. I think I'm actually supposed to Dark Ritual into Buried Alive here. Let's actually see what we get with this with the Assemble the Team. Okay, we gotta reanimate. So, next turn. So if they can't win next turn, they lose the game. But one of them has to be a land, but even if they get a show and tell, they lose the game, right? Opponent, I have presented you the loop. The cat loop. Thank you very much. Okay, so Vexing Baubles and pick your poison. I want an Ashiok as well. I'll probably cut Gilded Goose. Maybe go down on Hobby's Orcish Bowmaster as well. That is a lot of hate. I'm inclined to keep it, even though we have a one-lander. Dark Ritual. Okay. This might be a mistake, but I'm keeping it just because I want to go Ashiok next turn.
This is my masterpiece.
Okay, that was a good Ashiok. We got rid of how many cores? Like 6? Wow, we dodged the bullet. We got rid of Thoughtseize. Pretty nice. We just need Reanimate to win the game, right? Very nice. Very nice. Okay, so we played some games today with this deck. I think we went like 6-2. Because we lost the first game, and the game between, we only climbed to Diamond 3. So, yeah, I feel like this deck is actually pretty powerful. I'm actually very surprised. I was kind of skeptical of this card being any good because it is technically like a 3-card combo in a sense, right? Like if you want to combo early, like you have to go Dark Ritual. But the fact that it can happen as early as turn 2 is I think what makes this deck pretty scary. And another thing that's really scary about this deck is Graveyard Hates don't really work. It does to a certain extent, but coupled with the Grief in getting rid of Graveyard Hates early, like you could reanimate the Griefs as well if you have multiple copies of Reanimate, and then you get rid of the Graveyard Hate. But we've seen from one game where opponent had Soul Guide Lantern, but this card actually didn't do anything because all we had to do was set up an Ygra on the battlefield, and then as long as we have extra food token, the Buried Alive, playing the Buried Alive actually kills your opponent, which is kind of insane. And I feel like the only time this deck actually lost, we lost to an energy deck where I gambled for a land and I kept a one-lander and I didn't draw a land for the next 5 turns. And then against a show and tell deck, our deck just kind of flooded and we just kind of lost the game. So I feel like that's a pretty good sign. Like if you're only losing because you draw like this, like even in just getting an average hand felt pretty strong. Like even without being able to combo on turn 2. I do feel like yesterday's deck was probably stronger, but I mean, this was also pretty strong. Pretty good sideboard plan versus Omnitel. Very good sideboard plan versus creature decks with 3 copies of Calling Rituals and 3 copies of Fatal Push. What's really nice about Calling Ritual is it ramps us, so if there's hate cards on the battlefield, not only do you get rid of it, but that also lets us play things like Assemble the Team, Ygra on the same turn, or Buried Alive. Calling Ritual just an insane card in this deck because we are in Golgari. I was kind of thinking about maybe playing Necropotence in this deck, but the requirement for playing Necropotence is that your deck needs some life gains, right? So that means that I have to add something like Consuming Corruption, for example. Play something like March of the Wretched Sorrow. Like, I didn't want to do that. Just having 5 copies of Tutor Spell actually works pretty well in this deck. So yeah, that was the deck today. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Bye-bye.